And Fedoseev, what opening will he choose? One remembers the opening that was chosen by Fedoseev in the World Cup, where he was in a must-win situation and he played like completely crazy opening against Radek Wojtaszek. And well, he's someone who's really unpredictable. Pawn to c4. And now he goes pawn to e6. This is a more calm way to play here. And Arjun can play knight c3, but he brings the other knight out, knight to f3. And will we see the queen's gambit declined? Yes, pawn to d5. We have that move. And Arjun goes knight to c3. Bishop e7 is the standard move here. There's also c6. There's bishop b4. Takes on c4. Pawn to c5. a6. h6. Many moves. He goes bishop b4. The Ragozin is on the board now. The Ragozin opening, quite an interesting one, quite an active one, a mixture of the Queen's Gambit declined and Bishop b4 Nimzo. So Queen b3 attacking the bishop, and a common way to play here is pawn to c5, because you protect your bishop, also strike in the center, and that's what he has played. And now generally you take, and after knight c6 you go bishop g5. This is a very common way to play, but what Arjun does is that he goes directly bishop g5, and I'm pretty sure that this might confuse Fedoseev in some way. Pawn takes pawn, taken, and now queen takes b4 is hanging, but you can see that queen takes b4 allows this tempo again with knight c6, and then next move you want to take on b4. So he takes on d4. I think Fedoseev doesn't know the opening so well. He takes on c3, and Arjun can take back with the queen. So now you have two bishops in the position. He wants to push the pawn forward. Yes, he pushes it. Pawn to e5. That's not a good move. In fact, castles would have been much better. But e5 and now knight b5 is a very powerful move that Arjun has. And I think Fedoseev is in big trouble here. Yes, knight to b5 played. Now the point is, you want to shift the queen over, let's say for example d4, queen a3, you can't castle and knight d6 is coming in. So he quickly castles here. But now notice how cd5 and queen e5, both are great moves. In fact, Arjun takes his time here. He takes a good 35 minutes and now takes on d5, which is the best move. You can't take with the queen, knight c7 stuff. Knight a6 is an important move, defending this square. And now Arjun can play e4. And the main point here is that knight e4 is met with bishop d8, knight c3 and bishop e7. And white is better here. But the point here is that Arjun took first on f6, queen f6. And maybe that does reduce his advantage a bit. But I think Arjun is logically right. Because why do you want to complicate matters? Bishop d7, you are a clear pawn up. I mean, there's no question to it. The pawn is in fact a protected passer even. He goes queen d2. The only problem that Arjun has here is that he's lagging behind in development. That's his issue. And maybe that's why he should have played queen e3, because he keeps the square e4 under control. With queen d2, he allows knight c5 to attack the e4 pawn here. Now the e4 pawn is hanging. Okay, come back, knight c3 makes a lot of sense, correct? Now queen g6, attacking e4. Arjun is still clearly better. Rook c8 played. And maybe the best move now is to play f3. You would love to play bishop e2, but then queen g6 is a double attack here. So rook d1 played. Ooh. What's the logic behind this move? Queen g6 by Fedoseev. All of a sudden, black's position starts to look pretty good. f3 played by Arjun. And now f5 is a great move by Fedoseev. He can start creating counterplay on the king side. f5 on the board. And Arjun should be very careful now because his king is in the center. His bishop is undeveloped. And you know what? Unknowingly, Fedoseev has gotten excellent counterplay. In fact, rook takes f5 even is a great move, because after b4, if the knight moves, you have bd3. There's e4, which causes a lot of chaos. Okay, he takes with the bishop. That's fine. And one way to continue here is like bishop e2 and short castle, but there is queen takes g2, so that's not coming. He goes b4. Arjun is like, I'm going to fight for my edge, for my extra pawn here. Knight comes back to d7. And he gets his bishop to b5. Not just hitting the knight, but also developing a piece and getting ready to castle here. That's very important. If he can castle his king, he would be doing well. So he goes queen b6, just taking control of this entire diagonal. And also there could be threats with rook takes c3 and then queen takes b5. a4 played here, protecting the bishop. And Arjun now, once again, slightly better here. Knight to f6 played by Fedoseev. Okay, the irritating part here naturally is that white can't castle. And that gives black good chances. I think d6 is an important move, a must move. He does it. Pawn to d6. And Arjun Erigaisi, slightly better. Pawn a6. Now you can't go here. You can't go maybe even here. Bishop e2 doesn't look right. So he goes a5, making square for the bishop to go to a4. And queen a7 played. It's a very sharp game. Bishop goes back to a4. And now king h8 makes a lot of sense. Arjun gets his rook to f1. His plan is rook f2, king f1, king g1. Maybe that's the way he wants to castle here. And Fedoseev plays pawn to b5. He pushes his pawn. Now, a b6 would not be great because after queen b6, b4 and d6 both under pressure. So he goes bishop b3. And rook f d8 played, eyeing the d6 pawn. Arjun, being Arjun, goes g4. What an aggressive move. He's going all out on the king side. His f4 square is weakened. But I think for Arjun, much more important than positional factors are the dynamics now. g5, kicking the knight away. He does it. The knight has to go to h5 in order to come to f4, but you can bring your knight back to e2. So knight e2 controls this square. The d6 pawn is well controlled. And once again, it's white who is trying to press here. He goes rook to c6, attacking the d6 pawn. And Arjun brings his queen to d5. He's attacking here. And Fedoseev, look at him. He's getting excited. Because taking this pawn means you have to give up the queen for two pieces. Rook c3. What a move here. And he comes back bishop a2, a blunder. Well, if you take here is also a blunder because of queen e3 check. Knight here, knight f4 attacking the queen and knight g2 mate. But bishop a2 is even a bigger error. In fact, the best move, the only move was d7. And you had to calculate this crazy line with queen a8. Queen g5, take here, and knight c3. But the moment he went bishop a2, queen jumps into f4, threatening knight f4. The queen comes back to d2, but it's not sufficient now. Knight f4 is a great move. He plays it. And now, knight g2 mate is a big threat. He takes the queen, and all of a sudden, from a great position, Arjun is in a completely lost position because the knight is pinned. Rook f2 is met with bishop d3. And can you believe it? You are losing. You are losing a complete piece. King d3. But now just rook takes on e2. Check. And you can also play bishop e2. Many possible moves here. Rook e2 is better because bishop e2, king e3, bishop d1 and rook d2 could lead to complications with the bishop maybe under some pressure. But rook e2, bishop e2. And now rook to c1. And you can just take rook takes d6 with a check, which means that Arjun is now a complete piece down. And this is really heartbreaking for Arjun. King e3. He's hoping for some sort of a blunder here like g6, which allows rook c8, king g7 and rook g8 mate. But rook d3, king e4. And bishop f3 check. Well, even before Arjun can win some material, he's losing it. And look at this, knight g6 check. He's doing it all with checks. King f5. And now once again, there's some trouble here, but just come back. Rook d8. Rook goes to c7, trying to put pressure here. And rook e8. He comes back, rook to c5. Because if you played rook a7 trying to attack here, rook e5 is a checkmate. So rook c5 played. And now Arjun gets up. Well, he knows that the writing is on the wall. A check. King to g4, only move. And you can even go h6. But knight e5 check, being very precise here. King comes back to g3. And he goes knight to d3. Attacking the rook and the pawn. Rook c7. I think knight takes b4. This should finish off the game. Arjun is totally lost here. He would be so unhappy with himself because he had started off with a winning position, close to winning position in 10 to 11 moves. But from there, he's landed up in a lost position. Rook f8. And just goes to show that if you lose your concentration at the highest level, it's not going to work out for you. Arjun resigns. Vladimir Fedoseev scores his second win in the tournament, and that too in crazy style. Would be lovely to get his thoughts here as to what happened, what went wrong in the opening, and how he managed to stage the comeback for Arjun. Well, at the rest day, he's at 50% score with 1 win, 1 loss, and 3 draws. He would be unhappy with himself because I'm pretty